Hey everyone, this is day 5 of week 33. This is our last day of Why Did I Buy This week. And for today, we're going to finish off the week by using 2 paints that I bought at some point in my life. I'm sure I had a reason for buying them, and then life happened and I never used them. Or I used them and I just didn't like them, or I used them and like yesterday I just don't remember using them, so I don't know. So for today, ¿hasta cuál número era? 36. So it's up to 36. I had 36 tubes of paint that I never used. So let's pick 35 and 36. Simple. 35 y 36.
So 35 is
No sé. Cad yellow, I think. Yes, nice cad yellow.
and 36 is a green earth.
Cinnabar? ¿Qué será?
Green earth. Green earth.
No sé. Green earth. Terra Verte. Green earth. Apparently I've used it at some point in my life. Green earth. So yeah, I don't know. Cad yellow and green earth. That is a horrible salad of a painting. But we'll make the best of it. So remember, these 2 plus titanium white. So we'll see how it goes. Okay, let's get started. This is our last day on our Why Did I Buy This week, where we try and examine the reason behind our, let's call them the worst of choices when buying oil paint. And I'm calling them the worst of choices because we've all been there. We know those colors that we once thought were going to be the answer to all of our problems. And we used them once or twice. We paid handsomely, let's call it that, for them. And then after experiencing the same problems we had experienced before buying those colors, while we were using them, we realized, yeah, the color was not going to save anything. The color was not going to be the answer to anything. So we put them aside. We feel stupid. And if anything good comes out of that terrible experience, is that we tell ourselves, or we convince ourselves, that we have to go back to basics and that there was no magic pill, there was no magic oil paint, there is no magic pigment, no magic brush, no magic surface, no magic medium. Those things don't exist. Like I said, if anything good comes out of that equation, is hopefully that we very humbly step back and say, well, the answer probably lies in something that I really don't like to accept, which is I have to work harder, I have to make more sacrifices, I really have to commit while I'm painting, I have to be more concentrated, everything that revolves around working really hard at the fundamentals of painting. I don't want to sound like it's a terrible road to getting better, but like I said a couple days ago, there's really no shortcuts here. There is no easy road. There is no easy way out of that problem. We have to put in the hours, and that's the only way we're going to get better. That is the painful truth. Some people may not like to hear it, but it is the truth after all. If you ask for my personal opinion, I think we do have to work really, really hard, but we also have to give ourselves the best shot. And what I mean by that is that I was lucky enough to have Steve Assel, Max Ginsberg, David Soman, Sam Martin as incredible guiding lights and just amazing teachers and amazing people that helped me throughout the way. And I think having a good teacher as company, having somebody that is very talented, that cares about you, and that cares to see you grow, that really, really wholeheartedly wants for you to develop as an artist, having those people in your life is incredibly important. So seek those people out. That is what I mean by giving yourself the best shot. Take online courses. Nowadays, some incredible artists are doing these virtual courses that are affordable and are such good opportunities. Take that leap, Take a chance on those very talented artists, especially if you've heard that they are incredible teachers. That can make an immense difference. So yeah, we can probably by ourselves, hitting that wall again and again and again, we can probably find our way. But honestly, if we have a helping hand in the figure of a very talented teacher, of a caring teacher, then that makes the world of a difference. So look out for workshops, little seminars, talks, demos, anything you can get your hands on that gives you a sense of how, these amazing people work. And if you're able to take a workshop, make the best out of those moments and take full advantage of every second that you have with those people because they are this fountain of great information. So just remember, if you take that workshop, what you're going to get depends on what you're going to put into it too. And if you're completely there, body and mind, and you're working your butt off and you are listening to all the stuff that these artists that you respect are telling you, then that is going to make a difference. I always tell people, you may not see it in like a day or 2 days. Some people do. Some people go to workshops and go like, oh my God, I'm not the same person that I was when I started this. This is amazing. And it's only 3 days or 5 days. And that's incredible. I mean, that's not what I would expect all the time. But when that happens, when you can have that effect on people, that's amazing. That's an amazing feeling. Nothing beats it. But the reality is that many times the information that you get won't really have an effect or won't really make sense until many, many days, sometimes weeks, sometimes months after that. We are going to be able to deal with all that information when both our body and our mind are ready to understand it. We can't rush that either. So just be patient, but give yourself the best shot. Now that we understand that we are prone to making bad decisions and that there are no shortcuts, that we have to work really hard at trying to understand this, let's reflect upon the decisions that I made when I bought these two colors. Like, one is pretty easy. I feel that one is my search for yellow. And now that I've seen how this week has unfolded, my God, I think there's yellow in all the paintings. I think that this week could have been the search for yellow, because apparently I've just always looked for these yellow pigments to try and be, in a way, universal. And then I've left them behind. I've told you guys since, Monday, that yellow ochre was, for over 15 years, my only yellow. I would only introduce other yellows if I had to do a strange painting or if I really, really felt that I needed to up the chroma. But for me, yellow ochre was like my yellow. That's it, period. But I also recognize that it has limitations, and that's true for every single pigment. But we always think that there's going to be that one pigment that's like the holy grail. It's going to do anything and everything, and it's just basically going to make you paint better and make everything easier. It is very weird that I have all these yellows throughout this week that I've been trying to make sense of. So if you think about it, like raw sienna, that transparent oxide yellow lake, Mars yellow deep, and today a cadmium yellow, which is a yellow orange. And I think I've explained this before, but the reason that I ended up putting cad yellow aside was that I thought that I could mix it with my lemon yellow. Lemon yellow plus a little bit of cad red, you kind of get close to a cad yellow. The reason being that there is so much orange in that cad red that orange is going to make that lemon yellow lean towards the yellow orange side. And, you're kind of going to get close to a cad yellow. Since I found it sort of redundant based on the colors that I had on my palette, I was like, yeah, I don't really need it. When I put a color down in my palette that I can really mix with other colors that I have in my palette, I feel like I'm being lazy. I really feel like I'm lazy. I know that the counter argument is like, well, you're not being lazy. Why go through all that trouble? Just put it down and now you have it. And I get it. I understand that. But again, having it in my palette doesn't mean that I can now have immediate access to a color instead of going through the trouble of mixing it. No, it also means that color now involves every single permutation with every other color in my palette. So my palette expands like almost exponentially. And I don't want that. If I'm trying to solve one thing, I don't want to deal with 30 new things that come from adding a single color to my palette. So if I don't need it, I'm like, no. Yeah, I don't want it. Don't try to tempt me with that stuff because I don't really need it. That was cad yellow. And now the trickier one, I guess, is that green earth, Terra Verte. The name is self-explanatory. It is a green earth. It is low chroma, very kind of gray color. I was really surprised of how gray it is. I mean, when I put titanium white into it, wow, it's actually a really, really interesting color. Very cool color. It is a green earth, but I think it leans in terms of temperature a little bit towards the cooler side. And I thought that was pretty amazing because here I was thinking, oh my God, I have a yellow and a green. I'm just going to paint like a sunflower. I mean, this is two colors that don't really quite mix with each other. So I'm going to try to make the best out of having each kind of play its own role. When I thought of the mix between the two of them, I was like, oh God, this is going to be horrible. But lo and behold, when I put them together, it's pretty amazing. You know, it's actually quite incredible when you realize that two colors that I would never ever just think of when I'm trying to construct like the color harmonies in a painting can actually work together. You know, if you recognize what each of them can do, and then if you recognize what they can do together, it's pretty incredible. Remember, and this is really important for today, but also for this whole week, when you have two colors, you actually have three possibilities of mixing those colors. You can actually have, in this case, a mix where the yellow, the cad yellow, is dominant. So you mix a lot more cad yellow than green earth. You can have a mix where you mix both equally. So it would be a quote unquote kind of balanced mix. Now, finding how to balance those two colors, a little complex because some colors are far stronger than others. So it's not as easy as saying, just do a 1-to-1 mix, like 50%, 50%, and you're good. No, that doesn't really quite work. So you have to recognize like the character of each color to understand when they reach a balance. And then the third option is to have it dominant towards the green earth side. So you're going to mix a lot more green earth than cadmium yellow. So two colors actually mean three possibilities. A lot of people mistakenly think two colors mean one thing, you know, that you mix a little bit of one, a little bit of the other, and that's about it. You know, and if anything, you can just add white and then, you know, you have the tint of that color and you're like, there's no other options. What do you mean that you use these same colors? I'm only getting this mix. No. There's tons of possibilities when you realize that you can actually kind of fluctuate between that gamut of possibilities of leaning towards one side, towards the middle, or towards the other side. So always keep that in mind. So as I was saying, you know, this pairing is something that I would have never picked for a painting, but I thought, yeah, you know, why not? Now that I have to use it, why not? And let's examine the possibilities. I started with a base yellow. I wanted to have that brightness of that yellow, and I used it in a kind of transparent layer. So I was using also the light of the paper coming through the transparent layer of yellow. That really helps. So that's going to give me almost an extended range in terms of saturation of how really, really rich that cad yellow can be. And then I started just modeling with that cad yellow and understanding that if I wanted to make transitions, I could add a little bit of green, and woof, that green was amazing. And I think the reason that it really, really worked, and I was kind of shocked by it, is because there's obviously a lot of orange in this cad yellow. I mean, that is just undeniable. Cad yellow is a yellow orange. And what I didn't expect is that this green earth was actually going to be quite cool when I added white, almost like a neutral gray. And when put right against that orange, you know, that's in that yellow, that neutral gray that came from the green earth actually looked cooler. One would say even bluer. So I was like, oh my God, you know, this is almost like a natural harmony by complementaries. This is like this beautiful thing that's happening here that I just totally wasn't expecting. I mean, I'm not going to kid anyone. I'm not going to try to fool anyone into saying like, yeah, I knew that green earth was a cooler earth and it could obviously serve as a bluer hue. Now, come on, you know, I'm a normal human being. I had no idea how that color was going to behave. And I think that when I saw that, I was like, wow, you know, these two can actually be quite complementary in a way. I mean, it's a stretch, but if we recognize how these colors behave when they are right next to each other, we can be like, oh, wow, you know, I didn't see this. I didn't expect this. I now see it, and hell yeah, I'm going to use it. So I realized that it was almost like this perfect transitioning kind of gray tone that was going to help me in my midtones. And that's what I did. I mean, obviously the painting is heavy on the cad yellow. It's completely cad yellow dominant. And I was fine with it. I realized that as soon as I wanted to have something gray that wasn't just going to look like a garish green in the painting. You know, that mix of green earth and white was just absolutely perfect for it. And my darker darks are just either pure green or green with just a tiny bit of cad yellow in them too. And that was the painting. I did this portrait of Josie. And the cool thing is that I had painted Josie before, not for a video, unfortunately. I did this painting just for myself, just to fool around and just have fun with it. And Josie has like this amazing, amazing expressive portrait too. She's also like an awesome young artist. And I wanted to see if I could subtract a little bit of the wonkiness that I had on the first painting and try to see if I could capture I don't know, it's like a subtle, intense look that she has. And that's why I probably didn't lean towards pushing her character so much in this particular painting. And I was super, super happy that I could see that kind of other facet of her. That's why I feel sometimes that painting a portrait is just impossible. You know, thinking of portraiture as a very singular way to depict a human being, I don't know, in my mind, that's like impossible. That you're always going to be able to work on essentially differing portraits, you know, portraits that speak about completely different qualities or sensibilities within that same human being, and the results could be vastly, vastly different. I find that enthralling, to be honest. That's one of the things that I'm most in love about portraiture. Not the fact that you can actually depict that human being and say, oh my God, that's that person. You know, I can actually hear them speak. That's actually cool if you can tap into like the essence of them as human beings. But the fact that there's so much going on when you meet a person or when you see them for the first time, that understanding them singularly is so, so tough. It's so hard that I battle with that constantly. You know, I tend to say things like, oh my God, they look like a savage baby. You know, I don't know what that means. But what I'm trying to say with that is that my mind, you know, gets pulled into all these different directions. And I have to pick one, or I have to try to balance the two of them when I'm doing a portrait. And I feel that that battle is actually far more exciting than painting somebody's likeness. You know, that's a nice version of this human being, and that's about it. And to contextualize this a bit, I think I've mentioned him before because I feel that this is one of the best self-portraits in all of painting history. This is not hyperbolic. I really do feel that this portrait belongs in that upper echelon of portraits. And it's Kupka's yellow self-portrait. I mean, this is an incredible painting. Kupka is not a well-known painter. He was a Czech painter in the 20th century. And he had an insane ability. Insane. I was lucky enough to see a show that was called 1900s Crossroads. I forget where it was. I'm not sure if it was at the MoMA or at the Guggenheim. I'm inclined to say that that show was at the Guggenheim. And maybe it was 20 years ago, year 2000. Maybe that would have made sense for a turn of the century show. But, you know, I really don't remember. And I saw this painting, and this is the important part. I saw this painting, this early Kupka, this very young Kupka painting. And I was like, oh my God, this dude can paint. Oh, blah. It's like, you know, one of those painters that understands completely how to paint in a naturalistic, realist way. I mean, there is no doubt that he was that talented. And it's incredible to see his development. Like, I'm not really interested in the work that he did in the latter part of his life. He eventually became this very abstract expressionist, very preoccupied with geometric abstractions. And I don't really care about that. That doesn't really do anything for me. But his transition from naturalist realist painter towards the expressionist painter that he becomes is incredible. I mean, it is such a joy to see painters really try things out and experiment. And even though he ends up doing more expressionistic painting, I mean, you can tell that there is a foundation there that is solid, is so solid. It doesn't matter what he's doing, nothing can change that. Aside from the fact that he was doing, you know, these amazing paintings, he was just an insane draftsman. I mean, he was an incredible, incredible draftsman. He would do political cartoons and these incredible illustrations. He had a little bit of Toulouse-Lautrec in his drawings. Pretty incredible. I mean, this guy could do it all, honestly. But back to that portrait, because I was using green and yellow and I was painting a portrait, how could I not think about Kupka's self-portrait? It is one of those things that it's just this magical piece of art, and you have to acknowledge it. You know, you don't have to paint like that. I mean, who can paint like that? Again, one of the best self-portraits in history. You have to have it in your mind. You have to know contextually that you're going to work within this frame of reference, even though my painting is a very reductive way of understanding yellow and green, and he does a masterful job of understanding yellow and green within a wider range of hues. Nonetheless, it is, you know, one of my guiding lights, one of the paintings and one of the painters that when I close my eyes, I'm like, if I need to push my color, I know the lessons that I can gain from this painting. If I want to push character, I understand the lessons that I can gain from this painting. If I want to understand color harmony, I understand the lessons that I can gain from this painting. It is an indispensable painting to reference when I decided that I was going to do a portrait in yellow and green. You know, that was it for today, and that was it for the week. I hope you guys found it useful. I think it's a really nice way to not only just, again, unearth these colors that we've had in a box hidden somewhere for 20 years maybe, but also I think the interesting part is to say, why did I buy this? Like, what was I searching for when I bought this? Do I remember the artist that I had in mind when I bought this? Do I remember maybe the suggestion that a friend made and they said, oh, you know what you should use? X color. And, you know, you bought it with the best of intentions and you just didn't understand it. And then try to figure out why. Why was it that we couldn't really get a grasp on that color? Or maybe why that color just didn't have a place in our palette. And I think that all those things are actually speaking about our understanding of our current palette. And if we see voids and if we see that we have these kind of blank spaces that we don't really understand and we can't really fill with information, you know, my suggestion would just be, okay, just go smaller. Go back to the fundamentals. Start again with white and ivory black, white and raw umber. And then just slowly add hues, slowly add temperature, slowly add saturation, and see if you can make sense of it. No shame in that. Absolute no shame in that. If you feel that you want to paint simpler, by all means, just go ahead. Don't even ask anyone. Don't ask for anyone's permission. Just go back to, you know, the basics of painting and see if you understand them, if you truly understand them. I think that's a lesson for this week. I think that's a lesson for every week. I mean, I can anticipate what are we, week 30 something? You know, we are going to do, what is it, over 100 weeks of this. So we're missing 70 weeks of this. I can anticipate that going back to basics is at the core of every single theme of every week that's left in this project. So why not do it now? That's it for this week. As we always say on Friday, Danny and I thank you for your time. We thank you for letting us be your company during, you know, a tiny little bit of your busy day. And we invite you for next week where we're going to have a new theme. So we'll see you guys next week. Thank you. Bye.